Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in over 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. As we have a planet that will have over 9 billion people, yes, 9 billion people by 2050, how are we going to be able to provide the food, the fuel, the fiber, the basic infrastructure, and also the communication systems that allow these people, no matter what country they're in, where they're located on the planet, to be actively engaged to create an ever-increasing quality of life? I have a gentleman sitting with me who's been thinking about this for a long time and actually doing something about it, which is actually, Richard's quite unusual. This is Richard V. Scott III. He's Chief Executive Officer of an organization called Omni Media here in Washington, D.C. And Richard, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Well, thank you, Sam.
Glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about Omni Media, and then we're going to get into this very exotic but sophisticated, over-the-top TV and TV white space. But what's your organization first, and then we'll talk about these other concepts.
Right. Well, Omni Media started from an idea. Because of the massive influx in television, we are looking at segregating a specific audience. That audience is a multicultural audience. We are looking at developing a network that provides programming to people of all ethnicities. So that's how Omni came about.
Well, I tell you, I think it's really interesting, all the little niches out there. We have, there's three, it's about 98.5% female audiences. It's on 3 internet channels. Right. It's about 220 million people a week potential audience. And if you weren't really into that space, you would have no idea they exist and they're so popular and all that. So these niche markets, in many cases, can be huge. So looking at that, how do you determine which of these markets that you're going to go after, and what's some criteria? Because there'll be people listening and say, hey, I'd like to know what Richard's doing and see if we can get involved.
Well, basically what we're looking at is we have approached it from the standpoint that having a focus on a niche market such as minorities and of all ethnicities, the Asian market, the African market, the Caribbean market, the U.S. market, believe it or not. These are markets that have a specific genre of which they like to be entertained by. So what we are looking at is we've developed an approach that will provide us with information or entertainment for all of these markets without having to separate ourselves from a global market.
So what you're doing then, if I understand right, and then we'll get into what over-the-top TV is all about, is that you're looking for, let's say, people that, come out of the Caribbean basin as an example, and so you're having programming that's dedicated to that, very specific to that market, and then maybe you'll have one, say, for the Mexican market.
Exactly.
And it could be totally different.
Exactly.
Could be some overlap, but again, it's really geared to that specific market. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Now, how are you identifying these people, or they have to find you? How do you go about identifying these market segments so that you can reach out? And how do you know if you've got all these, if they exist on the planet, they're in the United States, of course, as kind of the chief melting pot of the world.
Right.
So how do you identify all these people and know how to reach out to them?
Well, basically, it's a marketing approach. We look at the pool of ethnicities in the U.S., for instance, and we decide if we want to go after a African or Caribbean culture, we then format programming that addresses their needs.
I see.
If we want to go after an Asian market, we select programming that sets itself with an Asian diaspora.
So then you would have like segmentation according to Vietnamese, Cambodian, Chinese mainland, Chinese Taiwan, Hong Kong, because they're all different.
They are.
I mean, we think of it as, Asian, but, it's anything but a monolith out there. Now this over-the-top TV, this is something I understand is fairly new, simple, but quite sophisticated. So what is over-the-top TV?
Basically, over-the-top TV is a direct delivery of audio, video, and different media to the internet without the use of a MSO or multiple system operator, whereas video on demand utilizes both. Video on demand utilizes both the MSO as well as direct to the internet.
Yeah, and I understand this over-the-top TV and the video on demand really are running in parallel with each other, and then people can select either one or both of those channels. Is that correct?
That's
correct. I mostly correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Well, but with over-the-top, you have more of a smaller niche market as opposed to the video on demand market. The over-the-top market basically, for instance, Hulu. Hulu was primarily one of the first to come out with over-the-top video, and it was followed in sequence by Netflix, Amazon, and those type entities.
Okay. Looking at this smaller, the niche markets you're talking about, providers, so let's say you have a small country like Guyana, I'm just using that as an example, so it's a fairly small population, but it's one of the only English-speaking nations on, the Latin American continent. And so they have their own, the British, Commonwealth background, which is quite different than the Portuguese and the French, Dutch, and Spanish that surrounds them. So really, and there are quite a number of them in the United States, and they're very sophisticated. There are many of the professionals. So what you're doing is looking at what they would perceive to be programming dedicated to them, and then you go after that and then provide that into that.
Exactly.
How do you do that when that may be a very small market, and then literally right next door is Brazil, which has a huge consumer market in Portuguese?
Well, basically, what we are doing is simply we are approaching it from the standpoint of desire. We are reaching out to the various entities, and we're asking, what is it that you would like to see? What is it that...
so this is all consumer driven.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
We're asking them, what is it that they would like to see in the U.S. as opposed to what they would see in their homeland. And to be honest, a lot of them are bringing in addition to their homeland material, they're bringing in a different approach to what they would like to see. For instance, we now know that social media has driven the full gambit of driving entertainment for our viewers. We know that if we are looking at a entertainment show such as Scandal, Scandal, believe it or not, is actually something that's exciting for people of all diasporas.
I see.
So it's just a matter of
Breaking Bad, which I think there's been this discussion about Breaking Bad and how it goes across all ethnicities and hundreds of countries. Really love it, and they just like it in English.
Right.
They identify with that. Of course, many people have English as a second language regardless of country. So how do you monetize something like this? This is the question that always comes up. You have these small niches. You got this, in some ways, exotic programming. It may be something from Fiji for that market, or something in Sri Lanka, with the Tamil population there. So how do you monetize that so that you get it paid for, because you're a for-profit organization? So how does all that work?
Several things. One, advertisers, sponsorships. They are great for monetizing any type of programming, simply because with the advertisers now looking for another opportunity such as internet, over television, they are focusing a lot of their ad dollars and sponsorship dollars to something that's a little different than what regular television has brought them.
So you're looking at the internet then as being, instead of broadcast television, we could kind of envision what that is because it's been around us since in the 50s, but really your backbone is the internet itself.
Exactly. We're looking at internet television simply because, as I said, internet television is the future, actually. Internet television is the future of television as we see it. Years ago, the small screen was considered the only way for advertisers and sponsorships to monetize their programming. However, with the internet now we have the ability to air on multiple devices across multiple streams, and also provide an increase in viewership.
Okay, and which is very exciting to a lot of people. The advertisers, are the aggregators as far as advertising and promotion companies and all that. But that's a very interesting point you brought up, because we're talking about over-the-top TV, but you're really looking at the smartphone, the iPhone.
But that's all over the top.
These, all that is over the top.
That's all over the top, because you're not necessarily aligning yourself with video that's coming through traditional television.
I see.
You're aligning yourself, or you're developing programming that's being delivered over various mediums, such as the Rokus, the Xbox 360s, the IPTV. All of that is basically considered an over-the-top realm.
Yeah, and then you got your iPads, you got
Exactly.
all these digital devices that you're carrying. So it's on the train, it's on the bus,
Exactly.
it's within your minivan. It's all these different places. So what it is that 24/7, in essence, you can provide entertainment to people anywhere they're located.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Great. Well, we are out of time. Where do you see yourself, and it's got to be quick, in 5, 10, 15 years? Pi Omni Media.
Pi Omni Media. Hopefully, we'll be in a minimum of 70 million homes.
70 million homes within the next 5 years?
Within the next 5 years.
That's okay. This is Richard V. Scott III, CEO of Pi Omni Media, LLC, over-the-top TV, as we reach out and to provide service delivery and education, entertainment. And thank you for being with us as we're looking around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
Saving for retirement might be easy for some folk, but for others, it might take a little more work. And for those who haven't started, there are still things you can do to catch up.
Oh, that is good news.
Like getting out from underneath past debt. And don't get wrapped up with high-interest credit cards.
Get you some eyes.
Be diversified with your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your financial goals are not out of reach. The choice is clear. For a happy ending, choose to save.
Everyone with alcohol and drug addiction is in the same boat. With treatment, you can find solid ground. For drug and alcohol information and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Dude, are you sure you want this tattoo? Because just do it.
Some mistakes in life are permanent. Like hearing loss. To learn how to protect your hearing, visit asha.org.
You've probably heard about heart disease, but did you know that it's the #1 killer of women nationwide? Heart disease claims more lives each year than breast cancer, lung cancer, or strokes combined. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself against it. For more information on how you can prevent heart disease, contact your local American Heart Association or visit their website at www.americanheart.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we're moving through the 21st century. And as we look around the 144 nations for the best of the best, we're looking for ways that we're going to accommodate a planet that has 9 billion souls on it by 2050. And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me. This is Terry A. Johnson. He is the president of Riparian Broadcasting Company. And Terry is looking at a delivery system that's going to take education and entertainment and healthcare, all these things directly to millions of people across the United States and around the globe. Is that right?
That is correct. And actually, I'm looking at this from maybe a little bit different perspective than some of your other guests. I'm a content producer. So from the standpoint of producing content, I want to make sure that the content is delivered to the end viewer and the content shows up the way it's supposed to. People have an expectation today that television has set and movies have set. It's a clean, clear picture. The sound is pristine. So if things are coming across the internet, it's got to be exactly the same way.
Yeah, because that's the viewer and listening experience they're having. So what you're doing then, Terry, with your particular type of system is that you want to make sure that it mirrors what's already out there in the marketplace, but actually doing one better because you're tailoring it. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's being tailored in such a way that people that are watching content and the content that's coming across is almost anything that people want to see. Today, people want information on a lot of different topics. They want to know something about science. They want to know something about health. They want to know something about, just regular entertainment. In the space that I work in terms of the content that Riparian Broadcasting produces, we produce sports as one of our contents, particularly historically black colleges and universities, HBCU sports. And the HBCU sports that we produce, it's football and basketball and things of this order. But you know that a lot of the colleges, these are D2 schools as opposed to D1s. These D2 schools. When
we say D, we're talking about Division I, Division II,
that's
size, investments in sports and scholarships and all that. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. All of these schools are producing student athletes in all kinds of areas like softball, volleyball, and you have women's sports also that don't get the kind of coverage that that they get on national TV.
So you're looking at it then from the standpoint of Terry, the NCAA, then they're putting out, in essence, mostly Division I, but now they're doing virtually every night of the week. So they had Division II, every now and then maybe a Division III if it's like a championship game or something.
Absolutely.
But you're going after all those smaller sports that have a loyal audience that people are just forgetting about.
And it is
very exciting.
And it's a smaller audience in some cases. It is not the millions and millions and millions and millions that network television relies on. It is a smaller audience in the thousands, maybe 10,000. It could be 50,000 or something like that in terms of the fan base. And there's a market for that. And the market is supported by the same economics that supports the regular television networks. And that is advertising revenue. In the case of things that happen on the internet, the advertising revenue comes in the form of pre-rolls, something that comes before the show, a mid-roll, in some cases that's coming right after the beginning of the program, and sometimes a post-roll, something at the very end. So almost anything can be sold in terms of the space that is available, including all of the normal advertising, and that is the title for the game, the title sponsor, player of the game, and all those other kind of things. So all of those are available also.
Yeah, I want to go back to this image right here, talk about that, but also I do want to follow up on this idea.
Okay.
So what you're doing is if someone comes to you and they're doing badminton at, some whatever school, but it's league play, so it is a scholarship type of sport, or
absolutely.
Maybe in D3 it's not a scholarship, but regardless of that, there's a real market for that. So you can go out and say, look, you come to us, we have a loyal following, say of 50,000, wherever it is, but we're going to give you X plus coverage that you're not going to get for maybe millions more dollars if you're on network TV. Is that what you're leveraging?
And that is correct. So from my perspective, I look at technology as a way to get from point A to point B. And in this particular case, using something we call content delivery networks in order to do that. Now, in the case you have something up on your screen right now.
Yes, let's go back to this.
Okay. Now, on that particular slide, let's just say that on the right-hand side of that slide, that's where the content is being generated. Well, if the content is being generated without a content network, what happens is that the content gets to the end user through the internet all the way back to that one server. And let's just say I've got a small server farm at Riparian Broadcasting, 4, 5, 6 or something like that, servers. Well, those 4, 5, 6 servers can probably handle maybe 4 or 5 network connections consecutively and concurrently, all at the same time. Well, one of the ways to multiply that is to use something called a content delivery network. And see, that is a very inefficient way to get that sport out to wherever it needs to go. Go to the next slide. Well, the inefficiencies are shown in this particular slide. Here you've got all of these network channels going back and forth on just one stream. And you are using up more resources than are really, really necessary. Let's go to the next slide. The slide on the right-hand side is just another representation of that very first one. I want to talk about the image that's on the left-hand side. The image on the left-hand side shows you that the content is going from the originator, Riparian Broadcasting in this case, and it goes through a content delivery network. When it hits that network, that content is being replicated across the network to thousands of servers in the United States or around the world, and it's getting there at the same time. The end users, let me finish that.
Go ahead.
The end users will now look at the stream coming from the content delivery network, not all the way back to me.
Well, I was on for a couple of years on the board of Norfolk State University, which is a traditionally black university.
Yes.
And it's a fantastic university.
Yes, it is.
But again, getting when you're competing with the UVAs, the University of Virginia's, the Virginia Techs, and others, it's very difficult.
Yes.
So what you're doing, Terry, is that you're able to take a Norfolk State or a Hampton University,
correct,
or a St. Paul's College, which is very much in Southside Virginia, and you say, look, come to us and we can put you on a level playing field, no pun intended, with all of these NCAA ACE-1 schools.
That's correct.
And give you maximum exposure. That's what this is all about.
This is what this technology allows us to do. It makes the entire network a lot less expensive. I don't have to invest a lot in the technology. I use the technology to leverage the content. So one thing that in the entertainment industry that we are very clear about, content is king. So if I've got a good football game or a good basketball game, that's king. If people are really to watch that, they will watch it wherever it is shown. So if it's on the internet or if it's on network television, it really doesn't make any difference. Now, we produce for TV also.
Right.
All right.
But if we take this slide right here, you've got all these multiple servers all over the United States, all over the globe. And also, too, not only is it going to the guy that's on his laptop, but it also his iPad, his iPhone, his smartphone. I mean, just all these numerous kinds of little PDAs, what have you, that they're carrying in their hand, their pockets, wherever it may be.
The screen is everywhere now. And that's the thing that we can take advantage of. That screen is in Starbucks. The screen is in your hand. It is, like you said, in a PDA, whatever. It's whatever size is convenient for the person right now. And delivering content to that is immaterial. The network and the way that the content delivery networks are currently set up, they will do something, it's a process called transcoding. I don't have a slide, unfortunately, that talks about transcoding, but I can give you a little bit of an idea.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's the idea. I'm producing it in one format. When it goes through the content delivery network, besides distributing the content, which is its primary purpose, it will transcode the information so that it's now available for the PDA, for the iPhone, for Android. All I have to do is put it out in a base format, video format, that the transcode will be able to accept and then push it out in all of these formats. It's an amazing process that works. And like I said earlier, I'm a guy that's in the entertainment industry. I really don't care about how it's done. I just want it done. I just happen to know how this really works.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there anything in this this particular slide right here, Terry, that explains some of the things you were just talking about? Or
yes, it does.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
just point it out.
The cloud is there.
Okay.
The cloud.
That's very important.
That's the cloud.
Now, people think of this mystical place. We're in the cloud,
yes,
you know, and it's somewhere out there in the ethereal land. But actually, it's just a very large server farm, right?
It's a very
with lots of
it's a building
equipment.
It's a building. It's a warehouse. It's sitting on the edge of your community. And there are hundreds of these things
and
all
usually
around.
They're very ugly too.
Yes, they are. You don't really want to go in. But that cloud is processing all of this data. As long as we can get it into the cloud, then it will come out in the format that it needs to come out. And the coding that's required is taken care of in there.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fantastic what it is you're doing, and we're absolutely running out of time. And I think this is really what you've really been talking about over this period of time. But getting down to the last question, what do you see for the future of the CDNs over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And where's your own company going to be within a period of time? You got about 1 minute to do it.
All right, where you see where the world is going, you see the United States and a couple of other countries around that graphic. CDNs are spreading all over the world because it's an efficient way to get that material out, the content. So this concept is almost everywhere. And so far as my company is concerned, it now gives me the capability to produce content that at first I may not have thought about. We're thinking about, we're working with rugby now as a content. Mm-hmm. We're talking to some ex-sports, if you will.
15 seconds,
all right,
where are you going to be?
I want to be wherever the viewer wants me to be.
Where two more gather together, Terry's going to be there, right?
We'll put the content there, and we'll deliver it in a format that is pristine and people will want to see.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. And I think this is really important too as far as the green space, because now we can get the information about the environment, about climate change, about all the best practices we're identifying through the Emerald Planet TV to get that out. So it's really nice knowing you, Terry. I'm sure we'll be collaborating on all this. But this is Terry A. Johnson. He's the president of Riparian Broadcasting Company, talking about the CDNs, and thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo.
I would like to speak English better.
Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
El Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals,
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos,
are a small part of what we do.
Son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia.
Comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
Ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Hey, Lena. Where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking at 144 different nations looking for what we call the best of the best practices that are simple, can be replicated, inexpensive, but yet have a profound impact within the homes and within the communities where they find themselves, regardless what nation or what community of the 244 countries and territories around the globe that we're able to reach. We have a gentleman who has a very unique technology and delivery system that's addressing climate change, agriculture, education, healthcare, all the many things that we need as we add 2 billion new people to the planet by 2050. Coming in by Skype is Darrin M. Mylet, who is the Business Operation and Regulatory Affairs Director for Adaptrum. He's coming in again by Skype, and right beside me, a special guest is Joel Coulter, who's been with us before, and he's the president of Mobile Sciences Consortium. So, Darrin, are you here?
Yes, hello.
Glad to have you, and as you know, you're our mutual good friend, Joel Coulter, sitting right beside me as special guest in the studio. But Darrin, tell us a little bit about Adaptrum, and then I think you're not able to see the slides, so I'll note a few of those for you because there's some on here we'd like for you to specifically address and talk about on this notion of what's called TV white space. But Adaptrum first, and then we'll get into the technology.
Well, thank you, Emerald Planet and Dr. Hancock, and hello, Alex. Adaptrum was founded in Silicon Valley in 2006, and we're one of the leading suppliers of cognitive software-defined radio operating systems, which operate below 1 gigahertz, called TV white spaces. It's been dubbed as Super Wi-Fi. Our second generation FCC certified systems are now being deployed here in the US, and we're shipping all around the world to really solve those hard to reach connectivity problems at a lower cost per bit.
I want to bring in here, this is something, Darrin, you and I have talked about earlier, and of course you said hello to Alex, and I'll give a shout out, that's Alex Phillips, and he's one of the leaders in this TV white space and been on the Emerald Planet before, and an all around just great guy, and he's kept the faith over these many years. But what is TV white space?
TV white space is literally known as the UHF VH channels on your TV. If you think about the old TVs that you had, those channels are the TV white spaces. And really, though, that's just one example of wireless spectrum that can be used to build networks, both public and private. White space could really be it's a different capability of using different frequencies, different channel sizes, different power levels. Sometimes also referred to as smart radio. As we all experience from mobile and Wi-Fi networks, there are spots where we cannot get connections or we have to pay $15 a gigabit to connect. Adaptrum TV white space is delivering backhaul to those areas to fill in these not spots. In the US and UK, our system can be built by anyone or any entity that's trying to make connectivity from A to Z.
Well, let's bring up this slide. I really want to show this along with you, Darrin, because it's showing some of it. 2 points. One, as I understand, there's about 48 million plus people within the United States that are not able to get access to the internet. Many of those do not have access to cell phones, which most people in urban areas would find very strange. being this is the United States. And also, too, is that you're able to go through buildings and canopies, tree canopies, etc., where typical internet can't reach. Tell us a little bit, and we have this image up here about how all this works, but tell us a little bit about that and how not only small rural areas, but actually you're even working in the inner city to bring higher quality and faster internet service.
Yeah, so the slide there, I believe, is a campus network. You would think this is a Division I college campus. You would think there would be lots of connectivity in and around the campus, but the reality of it is there's dead spots all over the campus. So they're using our technology to actually identify from a central site or multiple sites where can they not reach or where can they not provide connectivity via Wi-Fi or small cells. And the TV white space is tailor-made to actually penetrate through the walls and trees to reach these spots. And yes, you and I talked, a lot of people think this is a rural problem, and it certainly is a rural problem, but it's also an urban problem as well. There's dead spots and dead zones really everywhere in the world, and it's really our job to figure out these new technologies and to use this spectrum that's basically not used and to put it to its best and highest use.
Well, all you have to do is get into the metro system in Washington, D.C., and your cell phone becomes almost worthless. You can hold down your paper on the seat next to you, and most of the time that's about all you can get done. But as you know, our mutual friend Joel is with us, and he's going to ask the next question. Joel?
Darrin, why is TV white space technology policy and innovation so important today?
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Yeah, FCC really has led the way, but what we're seeing is countries like the UK and the Singapore are advancing the efforts. We applaud the work that Emerald Planet is doing now to sort of slow down and possibly reverse the effects of global warming. One such way is smart grids and smart cities. How smart are these networks when the current wireless and fiber systems cannot connect to reach them? There's something like 60% of sites within these smart cities that current technologies can't reach. So an example, in the US, utilities will have to depend on shared spectrum like TV white space and Wi-Fi to actually make these grids smart. Outside the US and UK, governments may allocate sub 1 gigahertz spectrum, and then you'll need a system like Adaptrum that can actually make the system smart, real technology that can deliver real performance. Singapore is a very connected place, yet there are numerous hot spots in areas like temporary events, like F1 events, or the numerous 50,000 ships that come into harbor. We have to have ways to connect places and things, and TV white space is important. But we won't be able to deploy these systems without having regulatory framework and regulatory certainty.
Now, looking at the images, I'm going to go through a few of these. These are some of the ones that you provided for us, Darrin, people out in the countryside, and we've got various, look like very small antenna, and both in the countryside, but the one we have right now is actually on a high-rise building in a major American city. So where are these being deployed around the United States? You kind of talked about generally urban versus rural, but specifically besides university campuses, where are these systems being deployed? And then for what purposes are they being deployed within these both rural and urban areas?
Yeah, I mean, there's something like 200 or 300 deployments probably here in the U.S. There's probably triple that outside the U.S. already. And again, it goes back to a very simple and fundamental fact that 60 to 70% of areas today, both urban and rural, where you're trying to make a connection, where you may be trying to put in even a cell site, a small cell site, trying to get backhaul capacity from wherever you may have it in that city or in that rural area to the point that you're trying to get a device that can make connection via Wi-Fi or small cell. This is the fundamental problem, and this is a real problem that TV white space solves like no other technology.
Looking at these systems and the technologies we're looking at, we have one here. It's up on a small, traditional, small American town water tank, and you see these small deployments actually right on top and all the way around the perimeter of this. Where are these deployments being made, and how simple or how complex is it to put up these systems, and how expensive are they?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, like I said, they're being deployed literally everywhere, from San Jose, California, to Vail, Colorado, to pretty much London, England. But what's very interesting is, because the spectrum policy is open, just like you can put Wi-Fi anywhere to solve a connectivity problem, TV white space can be used the same way. In Oxford, United Kingdom, there's a group there trying to build sensors for flooding. There's a lot of flooding. They want to put sensors in these riverways so they can tell when the water starts to rise. Well, those sensors need backhaul, and TV Whitespace is providing backhaul for those types of community networks as well. So really, it's a large opportunity, and there's just so many examples of where you need these types of systems for backhaul.
Now, you're saying this term backhaul, and then I have another question for you. Let's define that term, because most people watching this, whether in the United States or abroad, are not engineers. So what's backhaul actually mean?
Yeah, backhaul means I've got connection to the internet at point A, and what I need to do is I want to connect a site that's point B, C, and D. And those might be 1 mile away, or they might be 10 miles away. So the ability to create a bridge between where you're actually at and where you want to deliver capacity, that's sometimes known as backhaul.
Okay. Now, one of the things that most people are saying, look, we're tied together all over the United States, all over the world by, fiber optics or what they call optical fiber. But you were telling me that actually TV white space is much more energy efficient and much more environmentally friendly than using all this fiber. Why is that the case? And what is the differential as far as the cost?
Yeah, fiber networks are extremely expensive to build, maintain, and operate, which is why most companies here in the U.S. have actually quit deploying them, with the exception of a few niche or rich companies that are actually out doing it. If you think about it, most networks today are 4 to 5 megabits, maybe 10. You don't see very many above that based on real studies. TV Whitespace can deliver 20 to 30 megabits at a fraction of the cost, at 1/1000th the amount of power. If you start thinking about the set-top boxes and the fiber optics connecting everywhere on the planet, I think we're going to be consuming far more energy than we really need. And I think that's something that your show hopefully will bring some light into, is these sort of discussions and these comparisons between fiber networks and wireless networks.
Okay, we have about less than a minute and a half. Joel, you have the next question, but we got to be quick, Darrin.
Okay, Darrin, what do you see as the immediate challenges to TV whitespace success, and where do you see the industry in 5 years from now?
Yeah, we really need regulatory certainty. Regulators are constantly being asked for more spectrum by the incumbent mobile carriers without any type of inventory, any type of measurement of what they already have and are they using it effectively. So the real threat is we don't have any spectrum, and all of it goes to an incumbent powerful ecosystem. So that's something that I think we need to really discuss and keep an eye on.
Okay, I think we just about run out of time. Darrin, thank you for talking about TV white space. It keeps coming up in discussions among governmental agencies, universities, and many other entities, and yet nobody really has an idea what it is. And so this has been really very, very helpful. So thank you for being with us. This is Darrin M. Mylet. He's with Adaptrum, and thank you, viewers, for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. Right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet, also the Director and host of Emerald Planet TV. We come to you every week as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices. As we say, the technologies, the services, and the products, and of course the people are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And as we have a planet by 2050, there'll be almost 9 billion, maybe over 9 billion souls. How are we going to be able to take care of them? And one of those issues, of course, is providing the education, the health care, everything about agriculture, forestry, and then all the other basic infrastructure, but including telecommunications and communication systems. And the cost of all this is becoming more and more expensive. Of the 300 megacities around the globe, which means 20 to 30 million people in one city, is how we're going to be able to provide the infrastructure and allow them to communicate actually within those cities themselves, which are cities within cities. Some of these cities actually expand over 3 different countries. And so there's different rules and regulations and needs among those various nations. And Joel Coulter, who is sitting right beside me, is the president of Mobile Sciences Consortium. Joel, I can honestly say, is Mr. Everything, Everywhere at all times. And he's been on Emerald Planet before. And Joel, welcome back to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you, Sam. It's great to be back.
And we're going to be talking about UAVs and UASs. But first, what is Mobile Sciences Consortium?
Well, Sam, it started a while back. I just saw so much innovation coming in the mobile applications world. And so I just wanted to help small businesses who were startups try to form a coalition of people that could help them, write proposals, how do they access the government, if they want to go international, how do they do that? So I just formed a little business to help these small businesses grow.
Mm-hmm. And that's fantastic. And you're really focused on the small to medium scale enterprises to create more jobs, as we say it, but really you're creating more businesses.
Yes,
That's really your focus. How do you do that? And then we're going to get into the technologies we're here to talk about.
Well, I think when mobile technology first got started, it was all about the creative economy. You heard people talking about entertainment and content is king. Well, that's great. That's a creative growth in the mobile because people could access all these things on their mobile devices. But now you think of all the production economies in rural areas. You've got mining, you've got agriculture, you've got energy, you've got fisheries, you've got all these production things. And what if we took the creative economy and linked it to the production economy?
And then also these production economies, we're talking about, in many cases, very small rural areas, whether it's in the United States or Uganda or Russia or Denmark or whatever. And without them, the cities can't exist because you have to have the natural resources and all those mine things that most environmentalists don't want to talk about, and the foodstuffs and all that. But there's still this problem of this, what they call the last mile. How do you connect this last mile? And we have this chart, and I'm going to let you talk about this for a little bit. Just tell us what we're looking at and how, and what are UAVs, UASs, and how does it fit into this last mile connection?
Sure. Well, unmanned systems, aerial systems, have been with us for a very long time, all the way back before the Civil War. People were
now, this is the American Civil War in the 1860s.
Yes. People were blowing up these aerostats and these balloons and putting them in the air with strings on them. And so they've been around a long time. And I think now what's happening with all the mobile and other innovation that we can connect things to these aerostats, power, communications, and we can connect them to other vehicles that they have around the world for farming, for mining. And so all of a sudden you're adding another component to production, which is situational awareness of how my crops are doing, where I need to put my water, my fertilizer. So you're optimizing production and you're minimizing the use of resources.
Let's go to this. This is a very nice, complex chart. Actually, we have 3 of these. So what I'm going to do is let's talk about this first, and then we'll go to the next 2, so that we're talking about, you know, the last mile, but also in your terms, your last mile can extend out to 80 miles.
Right.
So that's a huge network. Talk about what we have.
So what you have here is you have an aerostat up in the air. It's a hybrid that it could be solar or wind power. So it could stay up for as long as you want it to. And we have technology like fuel cell technology that, again, would continue to power this. It's connected to a ground vehicle, which could be a farm vehicle, and it could be either immediately inflated or always up there. The reason why it's tethered is in some countries like the US, we're very concerned about these things just flying around free. They could hit something else. So we have regulations that require things to be tethered. It has a comms link on it that allows, now that comms link, you had the
this comms link, this is this yellow, it's almost like a lightning bolt.
Right, but it's a comms link to it. That could be TV white space. That could be your white space system that goes, well, it's 10 miles in the United States, but it can go up to 80 miles.
And then also the OTT, over-the-top television.
Over-the-top television,
as well.
right. So you have that, again, that assumes normal 35 miles, you would have a bubble kind of thing. But with white space,
and now we're going to show the bubble.
Right, and there's the bubble right there, and you have a truck with a real long high antenna, and it's going to other small bubbles. Well, those could be aerostats. Those could be trucks with aerostats on them.
Now
and
also, this could be UAVs. This is
could be
unmanned
UAVs.
aerial vehicles.
Right.
They can be up there, and of course, if they're solar or other kinds of renewable energies, they could be up there literally almost forever.
Right. So
unless
you
you need to bring them down and do some kind of repair or something.
Right. And the thing about with these vehicles now, we can print these things. 3D printing allows any local community to print the system, the engine, the wings. And it all depends on how you're going to use it. If it's search and rescue, you may want something that's a lot faster than an aerostat that goes kind of slow, but then it could be attached to the aerostat. So the thing is, what's here, it's bottom-up development because these communities around the world can produce their own.
Now, 3D printing, this is something that we didn't necessarily talk about right before the program, but how does 3D printing, what is it?
Right.
And then how does it directly relate to these technologies that we're talking about?
Well, most of the aerostats are made of materials, or the UAVs or the helicopter pilots are made of frames, and you can print.
Or like composite materials.
And you put your frame in a computer, and these 3D printers can actually produce the actual physical structure from your computer. Schools have them for like $20,000, and they can go up from $20,000 to $100-some thousand. But the thing is, students can start producing. You talk about education and capacity building. Here you could put students in competitions around the world like First Robotics and Lego League, where kids compete and actually produce
So you could
things.
have a very small community. I'm just going to draw something out of the hat, like a Leadville, Colorado.
Yes.
You know, it's one of the highest elevation towns in the United States. And they have an excellent school system because they had natural resources for many, many years. And they could actually be producing these on their own through the schools itself.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, again, going back to the bubble, why is the bubble important? So our audiences understand this.
So there are different formats. The aerostats are just very inexpensive. So obviously a lot of budgets can't afford really expensive systems up to hundreds of millions of dollars. So having an aerostat, very simple, costs you $5,000, $6,000. You can produce it yourself. And then if you can attach it to your normal vehicles for farming or for whatever, we had a disaster in Sulu, Mindanao. It was a flood, it was logging, came down.
This is in the Philippines.
In the Philippines, and it wiped out everything. Now, because they didn't have situational awareness, they could have launched these little balloons up. They could have seen where people were. They could have found the routes to get to them. And a lot of people can die without just simple situational awareness of where
it's
things
like
are.
a tsunami where you had over 200,000 people dying just because people didn't know where they were.
And
they didn't know where they were.
And we didn't have an alert. See, this is the other part of this whole important thing is you have we're working with other countries now on what's called the Common Alerting Protocol. And that's so we can alert each other when there's major disaster.
Okay, now this really is getting down to the nitty gritty. We have the farmer, he's out in his field and he's got soybeans, peanuts, cotton, corn, or what have you.
Right.
How does all this relate and tie together? And then how do you extrapolate, Joel, from this back to the broader community so that we're linking these very rural areas back into the cities, not only for ag, but education, healthcare, and all these other services that are needed to keep people in the rural areas and not feel like they have to come into the urban areas just to exist.
Right. Well, one of the things I always tell people is that expertise is very distributed. Believe it or not, rural people know a lot about their farms and about their land and about their crops, but they could see things that they don't recognize. They could see something happening. And so what this shows here is how you connect a simple little wireless...
Let's go back to this full slide so we can see this. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so you have a little wireless thing in the field that's solar powered, and you have a comms, and then it links to this is a software package called Ag Leader, but they're starting to see things about their crops, and they can use the UAV or a plane to fly over their crops to feed data into this software application that tells how their crops are doing, how their ground is doing, where they need to place fertilizer or water. So we're trying to help the farmer, but what if he sees something?
Now this is a certain kind of blight, a different
bacterial
insect that comes in they've never seen before.
Right, they've never seen before. So in a lot of countries they have co-ops, they have farmer co-ops. Well now, if
like in India, or Kenya, some of these.
So they could share. I'm seeing this. What are you seeing? And if we get together and we see the same thing, then we start seeing a pattern, and then we maybe need to share it with someone else more in another country who's saying, we have this pattern, what's going on here?
Now let's extrapolate this. Ebola is a big thing in West Africa, now moving into Central Africa, and the whole thing is that people, they're so isolated, there's very little connectivity out there.
Right.
So if they had these kinds of technologies, actually they could be able to communicate, so when you see something in this community, then it could be an instant alert where the resources could be brought in to help the people before it becomes a major issue. Is that correct?
Correct. Like when we had the disaster in Haiti, we were trying to fight cholera because cholera was coming through the water, because we couldn't inform the people that this is what our people were doing with the UN and everybody else. People were attacking the people who were trying to help them, thinking that they had brought the cholera themselves by being there. Because we didn't have the situational awareness and the educational services there, the community reacted the wrong way to people trying to help them.
And this is happening in areas where the Ebolas, where people actually have been murdered because they're there trying to inform and help, and people are attacking them saying you're bringing in Ebola, versus having these kinds of more sophisticated systems, whether it's coming through the military or like this from Virginia Tech.
This is a cute little
helicopter.
This is an amazing little hybrid that I talk about. The one you saw. This is a little VTOL with a little package. You can go out and take samples of the ground, lift it back up, and take it back for research. The other one is another VTOL that goes up that's on a pulley, and here you've got a
Joel, we're done. We've absolutely run out of time.
All right.
Joel Coulter.
Nice to meet you, sir. Nice to see you.
He's the president of Mobile Sciences Consortium and has been with us before on Emerald Planet. A very good friend and supporter of Emerald Planet TV. And we'd like to thank you for being with us, viewer, as we come to you looking at 144 nations as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.